Nancy, do you want to just get started by introducing yourself while we
Oh,
are
sure.
waiting for everyone?
Okay. Yes. Bueno, um, muy buenas noches. Voy a comenzar con español primero y luego el inglés. Um, uh, yo me llamo Nancy Granovsky y estoy participando en este Zoom, no de una distancia bastante lejos. En este momento estoy en mi estado natal, que es el estado de Minnesota, y estoy solamente 100 millas de la frontera con Canadá. Y por el momento aquí está haciendo 57 grados, no el 84 como tienen ustedes en Bryan College Station. Pero esta noche tiene que bajar hasta solamente 44 grados. Entonces, por eso estoy todavía tomando café caliente porque realmente sentí frío. No sé cuándo voy a volver a College Station, pero si hubiera estado en College Station en este momento, lo mismo iba a participar a través del sistema de Zoom. I'm Nancy Gronowski, and let me see if I can remember what I just told in Spanish. I'm coming to you from some distance. I am in northern Minnesota, which is my place of birth, my home state, 100 miles from the Canadian border. And if you wonder why I was heating up coffee earlier when I know it's doggone hot at home at 84 degrees, it's only here right now, what did I say, 57 degrees. It's quite wonderful and sunny, but very windy with the Canadian cold wind blowing through. And it's going to drop to 44 degrees tonight. So this means that it is a little bit different. I don't know when I'm coming back to College Station for sure, but even if I had been there now, we would still be doing this workshop via Zoom. I have done this particular workshop and one other for Habitat families who are at the same stage that you're in for a number of years. I can't even remember how many. And it is absolutely one of my most favorite things to do. Hace mucho tiempo que estoy dando este taller y tanto como un taller, otro taller también. Y para las familias que están en la misma etapa del programa de Habitat como ustedes están en este momento. Y realmente es una de mis más favoritas cosas de hacer, es estar con ustedes, con las familias y platicar acerca de asuntos que tal vez va a hacer una diferencia en sus vidas. So it is my pleasure to be able to talk to you about those things that might make sense in your lives. I am, well, it's hard for me to say that I'm really retired. I am almost 100% retired from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, where for over 40 years I was an extension specialist in personal finance, financial planning. Difícil decir que estoy jubilada porque, pero la realidad es estoy casi jubilada. Trabajaba yo por más de 40 años con Texas A&M con el servicio de extensión AgriLife. Y allí fui profesora y especialista en economía familiar, planificación de finanzas y asuntos relacionados. So I'm excited for us to be together because this is a first, Carla, for me to do a Habitat class via Zoom.
Yeah, for us too.
Estoy feliz y contenta que es la primera vez que estoy dirigiendo un taller para Habitat utilizando Zoom. Entonces, ojalá tenemos que cruzar los dedos, let's cross our fingers, que todo resulte bien. Ahora doy la palabra a Carla otra vez para terminar con la encuesta que están haciendo y luego ella me va a señalar cuando puedo comenzar. So I'm going to hand it back to Carla and she'll tell me when you finish with your surveys and she'll give me the signal for when we can begin. Also, expect me to get mixed up where I am because, and Carla knows this, and Madeline knows this too, that sometimes when I'm doing a presentation, I forget what language I'm in. So sometimes it's pretty mixed up. Me van a perdonar si me pierdo en la presentación porque a veces mezcla las dos idiomas y olvido cuál estoy hablando, platicando. Entonces, lo que entiendo es que la mayoría de ustedes que dominan en el español también comprenden inglés. And so I know that for those for whom Spanish is a predominant language, you also know English, even though your preference may be for Spanish. Let me just say one word about my Spanish. Quiero decir una sola palabra acerca de mi español. No soy Latina. I'm not a Latina, but I have been speaking Spanish now for more time than any of you in this entire Zoom have been alive. Okay, because I'm a lot older than everybody else. But I got my start in the Spanish-speaking world when my ex-husband and I served in Latin America, in South America, in the country of Paraguay as Peace Corps volunteers. Quisiera decir de que aunque no soy latina, comencé con mi historia del idioma que amo mucho, que es el español. Tuve el privilegio con mi ex marido de servir en América Latina en el país del Paraguay como integrantes en el programa auspiciado por los Estados Unidos llamado Peace Corps o el Cuerpo de Paz. Entonces, atrás de esa experiencia ha sido buenísimo para mí para tener la oportunidad de trabajar en Texas y también en varios otros países durante estos últimos 4 casi 5 décadas. So it's been a privilege for me to be able to work in Texas and to work in a number of other Spanish-speaking countries for these last 4 or 5 decades. So, Carla, you can tell me the signal of what we're going to do, okay?
Yeah. Well, I had already said this earlier, but I just asked if everyone could take the survey that I sent through the chat. And then also, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you're more than welcome to chime in. You know, that's why we're asking everyone to participate, but you can also ask it in the chat. And if you have any issues that you're having and you can speak to me privately through there as well. But yeah, we can go ahead and just get started.
Okay, tonight's theme is going to be something that we don't often see included, but it should be included in all financial education workshops. Vamos a tocar en un tema de que muchas veces se olvida en los talleres de planificación financiera, pero debería estar incluido. I think it's important to talk about what we would classify as predatory lending. You may have seen all of these kinds of things at the top where it says loan, payday. And I'm guessing that some of our areas, I can tell you from personal experience, that those areas and communities around Fort Hood have a whole lot of payday and auto title loan establishments. And as I was telling Carla yesterday, actually, because there are no national laws that prohibit payday lending or control it, except on military installations across the country. And so what that means, if you're outside the gate, sometimes in those communities, that's where you're going to find more, because they're not permitted. I can't remember all the rules. It's probably a certain distance that they can't locate. But there's oftentimes need, especially among enlisted service members, for extra money. Lo que acabo de decir es que muchas veces, como se no está incluido en los talleres de educación financiera, hay una situación en los Estados Unidos en que no hay una ley nacional que prohíbe la tasa de interés que pueden cobrar, pero la ley que controla a las instalaciones militares prohíbe que está radicado muy cerca a esos lugares. Entonces tienen un poco de protección, pero lo que pasa es que en las comunidades alrededor de las instalaciones militares como Fort Hood y Fort Bliss y Fort Sam Houston, se encuentra bastante de este tipo de sistema de préstamo, payday loans. But as you can see in this slide, the second picture, what is that? That looks like money rolled up in a mousetrap. And it's because payday loans are a trap for people. La segunda película en esto es una trampa con billetes, y yo utilizo porque este tipo de préstamo es una trampa para el consumidor. And it results in heavy debt. You can see that he's trying to carry that debt on his back or her back. Se ve en la tercera película de que es pesadísimo la deuda que está llevando, que puede resultar en el uso de este tipo de préstamo. So we need to be very wary about these. I did look up today the newest statistics that we have, and I can break that down for different areas of Texas. So I will talk a little bit about it with regard to, I didn't realize someone was coming from Colorado County, and so I'll include that also. And I didn't realize about Seguin, but so I'll pull those up. I did pull the areas, right around Fort Hood, and then of course Bryan College Station. Okay, próximamente. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a little difficult to see. Un poco difícil ver, pero lo que podemos ver en esto, lo más importante es dónde está la flecha y la línea en rojo. Eso significa el crecimiento durante esa época de menos de 10 años. Este tipo de venta de préstamos. That you can't see that real clearly, but this tells over a less than 10-year period where the blue arrow demonstrates the dramatic growth of these types of stores, the storefronts. And this is done by a group over in Austin that is very concerned about issues that impact consumers in Texas. It's called Texas Appleseed. And they do a lot of research so that they're not just saying, oh, this is bad, but they have the evidence that helps us to understand the magnitude of the issue. El grupo llamado Texas Appleseed, que dirige una serie de estudios, realmente eso se le dan los datos importantes para no solamente poder decir de que es malo esa práctica de payday loans, sino que pueden demostrar a través de sus investigaciones científicas de que es un verdadero problema. Next slide. Okay, all right. Now, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Carla. You think we can get it to work on that first one?
I hope so. Let's see. When
Um,
I had,
Elia va a procurar utilizar un pequeño video, menos de 2 minutos, pero no sabemos si va a funcionar como queremos. We don't know
is it
for sure if it'll
showing
work.
that, is it showing that it's loading? Or what is it showing on your,
It's just showing the screen.
the PowerPoint?
Yeah, the PowerPoint screen.
Okay. Let's see.
And I don't know if you minimize the PowerPoint, but then you lose. Oh, here we come. Oh, que maravilla. This is better than yesterday.
Is it working well?
Yes.
Meet Jennifer. She's having trouble paying her bills and making rent on time. So, like 12 million Americans a year, she takes out a cash advance on her paycheck and she makes it through another 2 weeks. Problem solved, right? Not necessarily. Payday loans are different from other kinds of loans because you don't get to pay them back over time. You have to pay them back all at once. You can get them in lots of places, in storefronts, online, even in a few banks. To qualify, Jennifer needs 2 things: income, easy, she's got a job, and a checking account. Jennifer is short $375 on her rent, which is also the average payday loan amount. To get the loan, she just has to agree to pay a one-time fee of $55. 2 weeks later, though, Jennifer's situation isn't any better, and she can't afford the $375 to pay back the loan. But she can't afford another $55 to renew the loan. If Jennifer is a typical payday loan customer, she's going to do this again and again for 5 months of the year, paying $520 in fees, all for that original $375 loan to pay her rent. Jennifer's story is a common one. Payday loans are marketed as short-term solutions for emergency use, but the reality is quite different. To learn more about payday loans, who uses them, and why, check out Pew Trust.
Okay, great. That worked. And the second one, Jennifer, Carla, if you can get into that one, we can do that one as well. And why people use them. It's just a little bit longer, but it also is pretty good. I wish they were in Spanish.
Did you want to do both of them first and then translate, or did you want to talk a little bit?
No, let me see, to try to say something about that first one in Spanish. Sí, bueno, como ustedes vieron que Jennifer, aunque tiene un trabajo, necesitaba dinero. Entonces se fue, bueno, pudimos ver de que había una ventana en una tienda, o no sabemos precisamente dónde, porque ese tipo de préstamos se puede conseguir en varios lugares. Pero dijeron de que ella faltaba $375 ese mes. Entonces ellos dijeron, oh, no hay ningún problema, lo único que necesitamos saber es si usted tiene una fuente de ingresos, y claro, que ella tenía una fuente de ingresos, tenía un empleo, y que también tenía un checking account, una cuenta de checking. Y eso vamos a aprender más tarde qué importante eso es, porque eso no está mencionado en eso, sino de que es una necesidad que uno tiene que tener ingreso, y también uno tiene que tener un checking account. Bueno, ese préstamo le iba a tener que repagar, pero el segundo mes su situación fue todavía malo. No tenía el dinero para repagar el préstamo de $375. Entonces tenía que renovar. Bueno, Antes de renovarlo, la deuda que tiene es 375 más el costo de ese periodo de tiempo, que es $55, para tener el privilegio de recibir ese $375. Bueno, entonces en el próximo mes o semanas no podía repagar. ¿Qué pasa? Tiene que pagar $855. Y ellos dicen, bien, bien, aquí podemos darle $55. Eso entonces continuaba por varios tiempos y al final de todo, no me acuerdo, Carla, ¿recordás cuándo fue el total que ella tendrá que pagar? No me acuerdo.
Um,
¿Como 800 y algo? Ya. ¿Cuánto fue? Alguien dijo. 570 $570 tenía que pagar encima del 375 que prestó al comienzo del periodo. Entonces, por eso podemos decir que es una trampa. Y el miedo que yo tengo hoy en día es que hay escasez de dinero para mucha gente durante ese periodo de pandemia de COVID. What I'm worried about is that people could, at this particular time, really get trapped by payday loans because there's a shortage of money in many families. Maybe their work hours have been cut back. They may be in essential services, but they still go to work, but they might have hours of limitation, but they still need money. And so I worry that when we see the statistics maybe down the road, how many Texas families will be impacted by taking these payday loans. La preocupación que yo tengo durante ese periodo de COVID es cuántas familias en Texas van a tener problemas si han llevado este tipo de préstamo. Now let's go to that second payday loan and why, if we can, that second video.
Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one.
No, Jennifer's still in this one, I think, isn't it? Because this is the one payday loans explained, and it's, oh no, that is the first one. So it didn't pick up on it, did it?
Oh, sorry.
Then let's skip that and go on, because I think that the first one gives the essence of us. Si no podemos ver el segundo, entonces no importa, porque podíamos ver el concepto en el primero. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide.
Did it change?
Okay, there are two types of loans. One is the payday where you get a cash advance, and the other, even more dangerous, is the auto title loan. And so as you can see here, bueno, hay dos tipos. Uno que es para efectivo. Uno presta y se le da el efectivo enseguida, pero el otro es, tiene que otorgar el título del automóvil. Y es lo que utiliza el prestatario para el collateral, para la garantía. Generalmente con los payday loans, 15 días, 2 weeks normally is the length of time on payday loans. Do apply interest and fees. Durante ese periodo de 2 semanas están aplicando una tasa de interés más otros fees que van con esto. Y the fourth point, that it's unsecured, but you have to give a post-dated check or give them access to your checking account, debit account as collateral, which means that they can reach down and take your money out of a checking account. El problema aquí también es que no requieren ningún tipo de collateral, pero tiene que otorgar acceso a su cuenta corriente o cuenta de débito, y ellos pueden entonces electrónicamente entrar en esa cuenta de usted, o también muchas veces requieren que usted se les escriban un cheque que tiene otra fecha en el futuro. Entonces ellos van a depositar eso cuando llegue el tiempo. Nunca van a preguntar si tiene dinero en su cuenta, por supuesto. They'll never ask, do you have money in your checking account? They'll just cash that post-dated check. With an auto title loan, those usually are month by month, but they also have interest and fees that are applied. And if the person does not repay with money, that money that they have borrowed, guess what? The lender can take the car away. After all, they hold the title to it now. El peligro de esos auto title loans es que si uno no paga, además de tener creciendo el interés y otros
Did you want me to stay on this
costos,
slide or go to the
si no repaga la deuda, ellos pueden tomar el carro y el
Are you able to see
consumidor
that
llega
screen?
sin vehículo, no tiene su propio vehículo. So these are both dangerous. And let me just mention, because I looked up the information, let me say that in the state of Texas, we've been unsuccessful in the state of Texas in getting our state legislature to consider controlling or capping the rate of interest that are charged for payday loans or for auto title loans, because they are considered legitimate kinds of businesses. They're not the same as finance companies. Many main streets and small towns especially have finance companies. That comes under a different regulation, and those do have a cap of the interest rate that they can charge. I think they can charge, and I don't know if this is still accurate, but I think the rate was anyway in recent history, it's capped at 36%. Well, 36% interest is plenty high, but they are in no way to be confused with the payday loans and auto title loans. What we were able to pass as legislation in Texas, approved legislation, was that the state of Texas didn't even have any kind of list of where these companies were located. So the new law said, okay, they have to register and pay a small fee to the state of Texas. And when they did that, that meant that we now began to know where on earth in Texas, what physical locations had these establishments. Let's see, voy a tratar de recordar lo que acabo de decir. Aquí no tenemos en Texas una ley que está controlando la tasa de interés para este tipo de préstamo. Sí, hay reglas con las compañías de finanzas, muchos pueblos pequeños los tienen y han tenido un límite a más o menos 36% que pueden cobrar, pero no deberían de confundir ese tipo de préstamo. Sí, es con una tasa de interés un poco alta, pero es totalmente ok, porque hay gente que tienen un una malísima historia de crédito y realmente se presentan como con mucho riesgo. Y por eso esas pequeñas finance companies existen y son totalmente diferentes, son legales, diferentes de este tipo de payday loan o auto title loan. I looked to see what we have. Oh, lo que pasó es que no tenemos una ley que los controla, pero hace aproximadamente 8 o 10 años se aprobó en Austin una ley que decía de que ese tipo de negocio tenían que registrarse con el estado de Texas. Entonces, por primera vez, surgió de esa lista de negocios registrados la posibilidad de saber dónde el estado existían. Entonces, había miles y miles de eso, lugares físicos, aunque hoy en día también uno si está pescando por el internet, se los encuentra en cualquier lugar del país, aún y afuera del país. Lo que se hizo con esa pequeña suma de que se tenían que pagar al registrarse es que se creó un fondo en el estado y se luego otorgó dinero para grupos que querían llevar a cabo educación financiera. What they did with those fees that these payday loan companies and auto title loan companies paid was to establish an endowment from which they gave grants to small nonprofit groups that wanted to increase outreach in financial education. It didn't have to be financial education about payday loans, but just generally education for consumers. And that was an interesting period. I served on the grant selection committee for about, I think, I don't remember, 2 or 3 rounds of the first grants that were given. And I may say this to you guys who are habitat coordinators, is that, and I'll make sure you get this information. Normally there is a time of the year when they accept proposals, and so this might be something that you can consider to expand your own outreach of either financial education or counseling. Yo estaba explicando para los gerentes de programas de Habitat que tal vez quieren hacer una aplicación para ese dinero cuando llegue el tiempo para poder obtener fondos para llevar a cabo más educación para el consumidor. So, bueno, esta tarde lo que hice fue para buscar allá en los datos en Austin, from the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner, busqué para ver cuántos pagos, payday loans, se habían hecho o reportado en diferentes comunidades, incluyendo todas las comunidades que están presentes hoy en este taller. I looked up the data on the payday loans and the auto title loans. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'll tell you a little bit about it because it's quite interesting to see. Let me see if I get the right sheet. I'm only going to report on auto title loans here. Yeah, okay. I'm going to tell you about, and this is just for the second quarter of the calendar year 2020. In other words, this just covers April, May, June. In the Killeen, Temple, Fort Hood area, the total possessions during that quarter were 65. But during that quarter, the active accounts of auto title loans is over 2,600. In Bryan College Station, whoops, uh-oh. What happened here? Oh, sorry about that. It was me. I put something down on my keyboard. Bryan College Station, the number of vehicles repossessed was 10, and there are over 2,000 active accounts. And let's see, I don't know if the San Antonio New Braunfels one probably does include Seguin. Over 538 were repossessed and over 17,000 active accounts. And then the remainder of the state, that probably would include everybody, including Colorado County, because I don't think Colorado County is included in one of the areas that I read. Just in those 3 months, over 700 vehicles and over 33,000 active auto title loan cases in the state of Texas. So it's very interesting to see that those are still alive and well. So they have to submit reports if they do. And I don't know if there's a penalty if they don't, because not every establishment enters them. Lo que yo acabo de leer fue cuántos automóviles se quitó. I don't know the word in Spanish for repossession. Does anyone know the word in Spanish for repossession? Okay, okay. Muy bien, gracias, porque eso va a ayudar al resto de la gente. Eso fue, el número fue 10 en Bryan College Station, pero hay más que 2,000 casos durante los 3 meses de abril, mayo y junio. En el área de Fort Hood se quitó 65 automóviles y tienen más de 2,600 casos. Y en el área de Seguin, San Antonio, New Braunfels, se quitó más de 500 automóviles y hay más de 17,000 casos. Pero lo peor en el estado es en Houston, donde se quitó más de 1,200 automóviles y hay más de 48,000 casos activos. Houston area is the worst. They took over 1,200 vehicles repossessed, and they have almost 49,000 active cases within that 3-month period. So if the problem isn't going away, I think if we see then the 3rd quarter now ending in September, I wonder if the cases will be worse. Estoy pensando que tal vez los casos van a ser peor cuando termina este tercer ciclo de el fin de septiembre. Vamos a ver. Okay, let's move on, or I'm going to get behind. Whoops. No, yeah, go ahead and move ahead on with that. I see the slide, but now I see all of us onto the same screen. I don't know why that's happening. I don't want to see all of us. I just want to see oh, I know how to do it. I can shrink us and I can increase this. Okay, here is a slide that shows a $500 2-week loan and what it could cost. So the first 2 weeks, this $500, the fees were $115. The total interest, $1.92. And so if they were going to pay that off, it would cost them $616 and change. Lo que se nota que es si alguien consiguió un préstamo por 15 días, 2 semanas de $500, se nota que iban a cobrar $115 más un pequeña suma de interés, pero para repagar el préstamo, si se hace en tiempo durante ese periodo de 2 semanas, 617,92 centavos sería el costo de $500 para 2 semanas. Pero lo que pasa es que, como vimos en este pequeño video, muchas veces la gente no tiene dinero suficiente para repagarlo dentro del primer grupo de 15 días o de 2 semanas. Entonces, se va aumentando. The problem is most people do not have enough money to pay it off in that 2-week time that they've really been given. So they roll it over. The first time they roll it over, now the total fees that they owe are $230. The total amount, payoff amount for that $500 is going to be $733. And if they continue to do that, 1 rollover, 2 rollover, 3, 4, if they roll it over as many as 5 times, which is 10 weeks, their fees are going to be $690. They still owe the $500 because they haven't paid a penny back on that. The interest amount is calculated. They say that's small. But look, they borrowed $500 and they owe $1,200 is what they have to pay for the privilege of having had $500 outstanding for this 5 rollover periods or 10 weeks. Does that make sense? It's expensive. Mire, si se hace eso 5 veces sin pagar, que dura más o menos entonces, si es una quincena para cada revuelta, es nada más que 10 semanas. Y si no se había repagado nada, sigue aumentando. Entonces la deuda total es $1,201,54 centavos para el privilegio de tener al comienzo nada más que $500. Es más que doble. It's just really ridiculous. Muy ridículo porque es tan costoso. Okay, next slide. Skip that one. Aquí, ahorita esos datos, yo creo que los números son peores. I think today's numbers are worse than the 35,000 families who lost a car in 2012. But that's what is going on. What happens, and I'm going to throw out a question. Anybody can answer the question for me. Just remember to unmute your microphone. What happens when people lose their vehicle? What happens to them? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Alguien puede contestar? ¿Qué pasará si una familia pierde su vehículo? What happens if somebody loses their vehicle? What's the consequence? What's the impact? En crédito, sí. Pero también, ¿qué más? Es muy... Yeah, exactly. Que no tienen forma de irse a trabajar. They lose if they can't get to work. So you can see how this begins to be a vicious kind of thing, and why the auto title lending is even more dangerous than the other. Usted puede ver de que el peligro de la potencialidad de perder el vehículo es bien serio. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So the other thing is that in Texas, when compared to nationally, and these data were pulled together by the United Way of the Brazos Valley a few years back, Texas had the highest fees for a 2-week $500 loan. And you can see that these other states, ours was $110 on average, and Florida was $55 on average. Go ahead, move forward. You see, because every state does it a little bit differently. We won't go into these because otherwise we won't be able to take a break. So families are hurting. En el último slide lo que había dicho es que ustedes podían ver según los 3 estados en esta pantalla de que en Texas pagamos más para un préstamo de 15 días que en los 2 otros estados que se veía ahí de Oklahoma y Florida. Era un promedio de $110 para prestar $500 por 15 días. So, aquí es muy doloroso para las familias. 83% tienen problemas para repagar cuando se tiene que estar repagado la deuda. 77% dijeron de que teniendo este tipo de préstamo se les hace mucho más difícil para pagar para otros biles que tienen, y que dicen por el promedio la gente que prestan dinero tienen una deuda durante 212 días durante el primer año of a loan. Imagine, del préstamo, imagine. On the average, people are in debt for 212 out of 365 days during the first year of a loan. And then we know that about 20% of charitable cash assistance goes to borrowers who are in trouble with payday lending. That's why it's important that we help people understand why that is such a problem. Casi 20% de la asistencia de efectivo para gente que muchas veces se otorgan por diferentes grupos van a los consumidores que tienen serios, graves problemas con estos préstamos predatorios. And 76% of these borrowers who seek charitable assistance also get they're already receiving a public benefit. Generalmente, esos consumidores, 76% ya, además que están buscando más asistencia financiera, también al mismo tiempo ya están recibiendo un beneficio público. Pero tal vez no es suficiente para cubrir su costo de vida. I think we should say that perhaps the public benefit is that they receive, it just isn't enough to cover all of their expenses. Next slide. And here we see the frequency of time that they have in meeting the bills that they have. Only 14% never have trouble. 28% have less than half the time, but 58% half time or more have trouble making their bills. Según esto, más de la mitad de las familias o los que habían prestado dinero tienen problemas para para cubrir todos sus biles. Let's see, I can't remember what the next one is, and I'm not looking at my own sheet. Okay, this is an important point. Here we go. Este punto es muy, muy importante porque recuerden de que decimos de que una de las cosas que el consumidor tiene que dar es acceso a su checking account, a su cuenta de checking. Remember, when you take a loan, you have to give access or a check, access to your checking account or a check. So what happens if they are taking money out of your checking account? What could happen to you? You might have an overdraft out of your checking account. Lo que pasaría probablemente es que si se lo quitan dinero de su checking account, entonces van a tener que pagar por ese tipo de overdraft. El banco va a cobrar esa suma. And I don't think you have overdraft fees in any of our local institutions in Bryan College Station that are less than $35. I don't know the current ones. I know that at my credit union, it happens to be $35 for overdraft. Carla, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, well, we're actually, the next class is going to be banking, so they will talk a little bit more. But on average, it's between, I want to say 35 and up to like 43 is the typical range.
Yeah, no, I think you're right because they have pushed that up. For financial institutions, they, you know, it is, I used to serve on the board of directors like for 25 years of my credit union. So I could see how much revenue was coming into the credit union by people who had overdrafts over you know, on a monthly basis. Our overdraft fee income was quite high, which very much worried me about, you know, what kind of trouble were people really experiencing. So, yeah, okay. Carla dijo de que en nuestra comunidad aquí en Bryan College Station varía entre $35 hasta tal vez $43 para cada cheque que es un cheque, digamos, un malo. And that is a lot of money, es mucho dinero, por ejemplo, y no solamente eso, pero si uno, por ejemplo, va a Walmart y escribe un cheque, no solamente tiene que pagar extra por su banco, pero Walmart también va a cobrar. So suppose you go to Walmart and you write a bad check. Not only does your bank or credit union charge you, but so does Walmart or any other commercial establishment. Okay, go ahead and move forward on this one. Yeah, this just shows how the number of establishments increased for both the payday loans and the auto title loans. Eso demuestra cómo creció durante esa época el número de locaciones para estos tipos de negocios en todo el estado de Texas. Lo que es significativo allá, what's significant is the statement, more storefronts statewide than McDonald's and Whataburgers combined. Habían más de este tipo de payday y auto title stores en total que la totalidad de McDonald's y Whataburgers en todo el estado de Texas. En 2004 teníamos solamente 7, en 12 teníamos 13 aquí en Bryan College Station. No estoy segura cuántos hay ahora. No estoy, No creo que creció enormemente, pero yo no he visto un censo recientemente conducido. I don't think they've increased too much beyond that, but I don't really know, and I have not seen a recent census of what there is in our community here. Probably maybe Habitat in your individual communities knows how many there are. Okay, this is just an example. Aquí hay un ejemplo aquí durante un periodo de 12 meses, digo sí, un año en Bryan College Station, en el año 12. 14 transacciones y los prestatarios or the borrowers, the consumers, pagaron 1.3 million in fees alone. They did at least one rollover, and it was almost 3 rollovers in 3 months, and about over 100 vehicles repossessed. That's just in our one community. So estos son los datos solamente para nuestra comunidad de Bryan y College Station aquí. No parece mucho, pero para la gente que fueron afectados por esto, si uno pierde el vehículo o tiene que pagar demasiado para prestar el dinero, es muy doloroso. Might not look like lots, but if you lose your vehicle or you end up paying bunches of fees you can't afford, that's very painful. Okay, I want to do one thing and then can we take a break, Carla? Are we getting to that point?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they have that little story, the road to riches or to poverty?
Yes, they should. Let me stop sharing real quick. Let me also pull it up over here.
Pull that up. Okay.
Just in case somebody doesn't have it.
Right.
Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, this next little one that she's going to put up that she sent you, it's something that I wrote initially early on, and when I wrote it, I decided that I was going to do it in Spanish first. Usually us people who speak English want to translate everything from English to Spanish, and I was being just opposite. So then the first time, or I guess it took me a year to translate it into English from the Spanish. So I really like the Spanish version, even with some of my grammar errors in Spanish. Lo que dije es que generalmente nosotros, la gente como yo que dominamos con el inglés y no el español, solemos siempre pensar en escribir algo en inglés y luego traducirlo al español. Pero yo hice al contrario. Yo lo escribí primeramente en español y utilizamos porque teníamos muchas familias que solamente hablaban español en Habitat en aquellos tiempos. Y luego, un año después, decidí, bueno, tal vez necesitamos en inglés también. Entonces, ustedes tienen la copia en ambos idiomas. Y Carla va a echarlo por la pantalla. Can you show it?
Yes. Well, so I was just looking at the chat. Sorry, I wasn't looking at it before, but
okay.
Is that because other states have legislation preventing higher fees? Why that?
No, nobody, some of them have. Remember that the United States, all of these kinds of things are regulated in the absence of any kind of federal law. Each state sets its own caps on things, and it's quite likely that there are many other states that don't have any regulations. So essentially, we have no regulation. Our only requirement are 2. That the companies register when they open so that the state knows who they are. They pay a minor fee. And then that they are supposed to be filing reports. There have been legislative attempts. In other words, They've had some elected officials who wanted to write a bill that would put a cap on some of these, but those never got anywhere. There had been a lot of pressure from these various storefront payday lenders and auto title companies. They did not want to be regulated. And our legislature, I don't know, you know, for various reasons, they didn't think that Texas needed regulation, and still apparently do not. But there will be groups, there are consumer groups that attempt to lobby their elected officials to begin to understand what are the data showing on how Texans are impacted. So maybe someday there will be. It is, even credit cards, you know, are state regulated, the interest rates on that, the cap for them. And that's why some credit cards are issued that you get, they're really issued by another state, and they fall under some of those. In some states, it's easier to get a credit card than in others, even though they might carry the same brand as, say, Visa or something like that. So it is all confusing about all of this.
Yeah.
And some of these activities with payday lending have become subsidiaries sometimes of regular, straightforward, and respectable financial institutions in the United States.
I was actually going to ask if you wanted to take the break now, and then when we come back, we'll do that.
Then we'll do the Riqueza thing after the break, because I suspect, well, folks, you know, it's still light a little longer here in northern Minnesota than it is in Texas.
Yeah.
But that's going to change real quickly here. And it's not quite dark. It's not dark here yet, but let's take a break.
Yeah, so right now it's 7:54, so at 5 minutes or
Listo.
6 minutes.
Perfecto.
At 8 we'll come back. So
okay, perfect.
Since it's over Zoom, obviously it's a little different, but if you wanted to get up, stretch your hands, stretch your legs, get a drink of water, get some food or anything, we'll take a little break, and then we'll
okay.
be back at 8.
See you in a little bit. Nos vemos dentro de 5 minutos.
I hope everyone had a nice little break. Maybe you got to stretch a little bit. I saw from the comments that Anna found the Killeen numbers. It's 38 locations in Killeen. So, what was I going to say? So let me pull up the document that Nancy was talking about.
And in the meantime, we actually I would like for us now to have a little bit of participation from everybody. So I need 4 people to be readers in English and 4 people to be readers in Spanish, and we will alternate this. So we need a version of Mrs. Guerra in English and Spanish. So if we can, it needs to be someone who can see this and who has, or who have already printed off. Okay, no, actually this is good. Hey, get it going like that. That's good. And I don't know, I don't think it's possible to do both sides at the same time, but okay. Perhaps if we leave it up in English, is there someone, are there people, do we have 4 people who have the version in Spanish printed out? Raise your hand if that's the case. Okay, the Flores people have English. It should be one side is English, one side is Spanish, or else it's 2 pages, one on each page. Okay. So long as we have, let's see, Carla, can you help me track who's going to be the English-speaking Mrs. Guerra? Okay. Who's going to be the Spanish-speaking Mrs. Guerra? It could be the same person even. All right. Okay. Who's a Spanish reader? Esther? Esther, will you be the Spanish Mrs. Guerra? And then Mr. Guerra. We need an English Guerra, and okay, Mr. Flores will be the English Guerra. Mr. Flores, are you possible to be the Spanish Mr. Guerra also? Just English? Okay. Do we have el señor Flores va a ser en inglés, pero necesitamos alguien que habla español para ser el señor Guerra. Do we have and it can be male or female. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Esther will be the Mr. Guerra. Now the next one is a longer part. It's Rosa, the Elena's sister. So we need an English-speaking Rosa. Kimberly, you want to be Rosa? I see your name there. That's I mean I see your picture. I don't see everybody else. Kimberly, will you? Are you willing?
Okay.
Are you're nodding yes? You'll have to unmute your microphone. We get to that. And then we need a Spanish-speaking Rosa. Necesitamos alguien que lee en español para hacer del rol de Rosa. Ok, perfecto. Puede cambiar la voz un poquito entre las dos si quiere. Okay.
Okay, I can just scroll back and forth.
Okay, if you can scroll back and forth. And then the final one is going to be, it's the shortest one in the group. And that is Alejandro. And we need an English-speaking Alejandro. And he really is the payday loan guy. Okay. Mrs. Flores, is that your arm? Okay. And then we need a Spanish-speaking Alejandro, unless Esther wants to do that one too. Okay, that's very good. The rest of you, I'm sorry if you feel like we're overlooking you, but you didn't raise your hand fast enough. So, okay. And then there are some parts in it in italics that I will read. Okay?
Okay.
And, okay, so Carla, good luck in manipulating versions. Okay? Okay, this is called The Road to Riches or to Poverty, or in Spanish, El Camino a la Riqueza or a la Pobreza. And it says, in the kitchen of the Guerra family, and I purposely picked the name Guerra in Spanish. I don't know if the English speakers know what guerra means, but guerra means war. And that's a terrible thing to think about, but they have a kind of a major argument in this family. So I thought it was suitable to give them the last name of apellido of Guerra. Okay, in the kitchen of the Guerra family, the spouses, Elena and Juan, are discussing their financial situation, which has reached a very serious point. En la cocina de la familia Guerra, los esposos Elena y Juan están discutiendo su situación financiera que ha llegado al punto de mucha seriedad. Okay, Mrs. Guerra, Elena, go ahead, go.
I don't know what we're going to do. We have bills that we cannot pay, and today they told me that they're going to cut my work hours. We have spent until we only have 100 in our checking account, and it's only the 12th of the month. I'm desperate.
Okay. Let's do the next part in the Spanish. Let's go back and forth on the same roll. So who's the Spanish? Is it you, Esther?
Sí.
Or is it? Yeah, okay,
Sí.
go ahead, Elena.
No, no sé qué vamos a hacer. Tenemos biles que no podemos pagar y hoy me dijeron que van a cortar mis horas de trabajo. Hemos gastado hasta que solamente tenemos $100 en nuestra cuenta de banco y es solamente el 12 del mes. Me desespero.
Okay, Mr. Guerra.
Why didn't you tell me this before that we had spent so much money? When precisely you're where you're going to let me know. When were you going to let me know? Maybe you are mistaken. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it now.
Okay. ¿Y en español?
No lo miro. Ok.
¿Por qué no
¿Por
le
qué no me
dijiste?
dijiste más antes que habíamos gastado tanto dinero, cuando precisamente me ibas a informar? Tal vez estás equivocado. No quiero discutirlo ahora.
So Elena starts to cry a little, but knows that she has to find a solution for their problems. She decides to consult her older sister, Rosa, and she phones her. Elena empieza a llorar un poco, pero sabe que tiene que encontrar una solución para su problema. Decide consultar a su hermana mayor, Rosa, y la llame por teléfono. Rosa?
Well, my dear, I'm so sorry that you're having financial problems and that they've cut back your hours. But I think you can get a short-term loan. You know that we have here in Bryan College Station some stores. They aren't banks or credit unions. They're small businesses. Uh-oh. More like a store like McDonald's or Starbucks, although they don't sell food. And many times they're located very close to the neighborhoods where we live. Very convenient, don't you think? They offer a short-term loan for those with similar problems. Those who are on short of money between pay periods. These places are called Payday. Maybe you've seen them. I don't know how much they charge to the money, but I have several friends who had gone and borrowed money until the next payday period arrives.
And Elena Rosa en español.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Bueno,
Ahí
mija.
está. Yeah.
Bueno, mija. Siento mucho que estás teniendo problemas financieros y que te cortaron las horas de trabajo, pero pienso que puedes hacer un préstamo de corto plazo. Tú sabes que tenemos en Bryan y en College Station unas tiendas. No son bancos ni cooperativas de crédito. Son pequeños negocios más como una tienda, como un McDonald's o un Starbucks, aunque no se venden comida y muchas veces se encuentran muy cerca de los barrios en donde vivimos. Muy convenientes, ¿no te parece? Ofrecen un préstamo por corto plazo para los que tienen problemas semejantes, que falta dinero entre los periodos de pagos. Estos lugares se llaman Payday. Tal vez las había visto. No sé cuánto cobran para prestar el dinero, pero tengo varias amigas que han ido y han prestado el dinero hasta el próximo periodo de pago. Llega.
After talking with Rosa, Elena decides to visit one of the payday loan places. She found the store easily because the window had a sign in big letters, Payday Loans. Elena then enters the Suarez Payday Loans where Mr. Alejandro works. Después de platicar con Rosa, Elena decide visitar uno de los prestatarios Payday. Encontró la tienda con mucha facilidad porque en la ventana decía en letras grandes, Payday Loans. Elena entra en Suarez Payday Loans, donde trabaja el señor Alejandro. Alejandro.
Good day. My name is Alejandro at your service. How can I help you? We offer fast service.
Spanish.
I had to say Elena o Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tenemos mucha experiencia con
No, buenos días primero.
Yeah. Buenos días. Me llamo Alejandro, a sus órdenes. ¿Cómo puedo servirlo? Ofrecemos servicios rápidos.
And then, okay, Elena explica el problema a Alejandro. Elena explains the problem to Alejandro. Let's do you can, okay, she's got the English version up. Okay, Alejandro, English?
We have lots of experience with our clientele. Their experiences are pretty common in our community. I can tell you confidentially that we understand completely your problems, and that's why our businesses exist, to help the community. Well, why don't you take a seat and we'll begin. Within 15 minutes, you will have an immediate solution to your problem. How much money do you want to borrow?
Alejandro, Spanish?
Yes.
Sorry.
Tenemos mucha experiencia con nuestra clientela. Sus experiencias son experiencias comunes en nuestra comunidad. Puedo contarle con mucha confianza que comprendemos completamente su problema y por eso nuestro negocio existe, para ayudar a la comunidad. Bueno, ¿por qué no tome un asiento y podemos comenzar? Dentro de 15 minutos usted tendrá una solución a su problema inmediato. ¿Cuánto dinero quiere prestar?
So Elena says,
I need 300.
I need 300 to last until next pay period. Sorry.
and Elena says,
Necesito 300 para alcanzar hasta el próximo periodo de pago.
what happens next makes the Guerra family's financial situation even worse. Lo que pasa próximamente perjudica aún más la situación financiera de la familia Guerra. Okay, let us give them a hand. Let's clap for our readers. Thank you. Okay, at this point, let's open up for discussion. Have you ever known anyone who's had one of these payday loans? What kind of experiences have we had in our communities? And do you think that these are quite tempting when people have run out of ideas? Podemos discutir un poco. Hemos tenido nosotros en este grupo algunas experiencias. Hemos conocido a alguien que tal vez tomó un préstamo de este tipo. ¿Qué experiencias tenemos y qué miedo tenemos durante esta época cuando hay algunos problemas financieros dentro de entre nuestros familiares, entre nuestros amigos, entre nuestras comunidades? Podemos discutir un poco. So you can unmute your microphone, and if somebody would like to share a story without don't use names, don't change the details so nothing personal about anybody else is being revealed. But these have got to be, I've never had a habitat group where someone did not know or had not heard of somebody getting a loan like this.
I've had both, actually. I've been a victim of both of them, but the payday loan I did pay off, but the card, no, it was the card title one that I paid off. The payday loan one where they need your checking account and your banking account information, that's the one that got me caught up, because the way they explained it to me, and I'm asking questions because I'm very specific when I talk. I ask the questions. I'm thinking I pay this much back. This is going towards what I borrowed.
What you really owe.
And that's not that's not how they explained it back to me. And that's how they got me caught up in that trap. So yeah. But
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open about this.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, bueno, fue buenísimo lo que ella estaba dando los detalles, porque ella misma estaba en la trampa. Tenía ambos tipos de préstamo, uno con el título del vehículo y otro con efectivo. Y el problema fue de que, bueno, repagó todo y no perdió su vehículo. pero tuvo problema con el repago del efectivo. Ella dice que la forma en que ellos habían explicado fue de que cada vez que ella pagó, creía, según lo que entendía de la explicación que habían dado, que eso iba a aplicar hacia la deuda para disminuir la deuda. Y fue solamente después de que ella descubrió de que eso ni un céntimo repagaba su deuda, solamente estaba para pagar esos fees excesivos. It just went to pay for the excessive fee that you were being charged, and you still had the debt. Todavía, bueno, pagó, pero todavía la deuda se quedó.
And I just want to, before we have someone else talk, I just want to say that I know that we talked about a lot of scary predatory lending right now, but obviously with Habitat, it is also a loan, obviously with 0% interest is a special circumstance type of thing. But we just want to, this is their first class just because, not because we want to scare you, but because we want you, like everyone, to know the importance of really looking at the fine print. And obviously we know emergencies happen and sometimes, you know, it's last case type of scenario, but that's why we asked Nancy here to just, you know, talk about that it's the last resource, and hopefully none of you have to get to that point, but we understand it happens, but just, you know, as a warning. And
yes. And most of our financial institutions in town, our banks and our credit unions, offer alternatives to payday loans because they don't want to see consumers paying such a high rate. I know that when I was on the board of our credit union, we passed where we approved, I should say, a new loan product in which we did not require a credit check, and we did not require people. It sounded like higher interest. I can't remember what it was. It might have been as high as 18%, but it was limited in amount to be borrowed, and it was limited in the length of time. And if the person defaulted on the loan, then there was a problem. But it was intended to provide a much less expensive alternative, and it was building a positive picture towards their credit history. And many of the people who borrowed that money, I think the limit was $700. I think we called it a Lucky 7 loan at that time. The people who borrowed then became eligible to apply for other types of loan products at that lower rate and became conventional borrowers for their particular needs, whether it was an emergency or not. In fact, I was noticing, because I'm thinking about applying for one myself, they are having a special offer for people at this particular time who might have emergencies, who might have home repairs, who might have a variety of things, and they're offering, if a person qualifies, an interest rate of 6.99%. So that's better than these other huge percentages. And every time you pay money, you are paying at least a portion of the principal of the loan off. Bueno, lo que dije, pero en menos palabras, fue de que todos los bancos y también los otras organizaciones de bancos de ahorro y crédito ofrecen productos de préstamos que son que quieren que la gente entren pregunten y que se cualifiquen para este tipo de préstamo en vez de payday loans, en vez de payday loans. Porque payday loans son demasiado costosos y como había explicado Kimberly, no es una solución. I said, you know, they have these other commercial institutions, banks and credit unions have loan products that are far superior to payday loan alternatives. And you don't get into the kind of situation that Kimberly explained. Any other experiences or comments? And I would say that it's so important that that this happen at the beginning. I think it's the first time, Carla, that we've done it as the first in the series, but I think it is really a good idea to do it, because then the rest of everything that you talk about, from banking to budgeting to everything, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think
And we become more motivated, all of us, to think about, you know, I work hard for my money. I want to make sure that I'm doing the best thing with it and for it.
I saw Flores, Mr. Flores, you raise your hand.
Yes. I had a coworker that was in need of some money, some funds, and he took out one of those payday loans. And come to find out, he got so far backed up on his payday loan, he actually took out another payday loan to pay the payday loan. He's completely trapped with two of them.
Right.
And then after that, like you said, they take they debit so much. Then they put him in his credit union completely in so far under that they should have countdown as well as for his credit union as well.
And what normally happens, even though it's a credit union, they will more than likely drop him as a member and he will not be eligible. Now, there would have been a point earlier on had he gone to them and said, hey, I got myself into the payday thing. Can you help me? But my guess is human nature is that we're always embarrassed about our financial mistakes. And it's really hard to go in and sit across the desk with someone and say, you know what, I think I messed up. Can you help me?
That's exactly what happened to him.
And then the other implications of something like this is that those kinds of events related to money that become painful and emotional really cause family turmoil, could end up with everything from divorce to, all kinds of family violence even, because the tensions run very high. Money is a trigger to too many things. Ya, él estaba explicando de que tenía un compañero en trabajo que había tomado uno de estos, tuvo problema y no podía repagar, entonces sacó segundo pensando que podía utilizarlo para repagar el primero y así el problema persiguió. Se fue a su banco de ahorro y crédito, pero demasiado tarde, perdió sus privilegios allá y todavía no se habían en aquellos tiempos solucionado. Después yo dije de que problemas relacionados con las finanzas pueden realmente interrumpir la vida familiar. Como es muy emocional el tema de dinero, puede resultar en divorcio, puede resultar en violencia familiar. No es una situación buena en ningún sentido.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for teaching this class once again, for always volunteering with us. I just wanted to thank all of you for joining us today. I know it's a little late, so we're all a little tired. So hope you all have a great rest of your week.
I didn't make an answer to one question, the question about legislation in other states. Is that why they don't, do they have rules and so on? Well, I mentioned in Texas, and it could be, I don't know the situation in all states. I only know Texas. And what I do know is that in the absence of any state regulatory control over interest rates or anything like that, guess what happened? Many cities and suburban areas, including our own Bryan and College Station, passed ordinances, municipal ordinances, issuing some control of where they could be located. This was especially true in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where they said, okay, all right, fine, you're going to be this kind of an establishment. You may not put your location, you may not open a storefront that is near public housing, that is near the Texas Employment Commission, or anything where people who might actually need this kind of a loan, that it would be too convenient literally for them to kind of drop off without acting in a conventional way. Estoy contestando la última pregunta que yo no había contestado en el chat, y eso fue acerca de si hay leyes o regulaciones en otros estados. Dije que no conozco lo que está pasando en otros estados. Realmente dudo que mucho. Pero aquí en Texas, como el estado no hizo nada, las municipalidades y ciudades sí promulgaron algunos actos que tenía el resultado de evitar que se construyan esos negocios cerca de viviendas públicas, cerca de Texas Employment Commission y cosas así, cerca de Seguro Social. Also, they couldn't be located near a Social Security office and things like that. Well, I've appreciated the opportunity to be with you. I'm thrilled about the locations who participated, and I just wish you are going on the most magical time of your lives. I cannot imagine how wonderful this is for you and your families. And I'm a great supporter of Habitat. I think it is literally the best thing since sliced bread, because it's enabled so many families to have a fresh start and to raise their children in an environment which just is wonderful for everybody. So good luck to everybody. And I look forward to hearing not only about the days when our local families in Bryan College Station will have their homes completed, but I'd love to hear what's happening in our other communities now that you've been a part of this. So we have quite a fellowship going here, and muy buena suerte para todos, okay? I know it's late. Siento mucho de que es tan tarde.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.